In fact, this judgment is quite interesting in a number of ways. I think there are a few questions, perhaps, that need also to be asked. The fact of the matter is that perhaps we may need to have a separate or a different discussion around the issue of donation to the private individuals, because clearly some people may want to exploit that aspect. So, but I think that would perhaps be something that will have to be done separately. But again, Nzinga, this also, as much as it was an issue that related to what the public protector had said, it actually goes back to her. Remember, there's a process underway right now that is looking into whether she's fit to hold office. Given some of these judgments that are happening now, honestly, I guess they are perhaps not doing her any favor insofar as the process that's underway is concerned. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to watch as we move forward.
All right, what issues are raised around political party funding or people who are involved in private matters who are in the political arena in terms of this judgment?
You'd remember that the political party funding issue has just been resolved in the parliament. I think the president himself has signed off on that one. But then there's this issue around the private individuals. That's why I was saying we may need as a country perhaps to also look into mechanisms as to how to regulate or to treat those issues, because they would, to me, they seem like the loophole. Some people will probably try to use them for whatever benefit that perhaps suits them. So it's a judgment that also gets us thinking as South Africans to say, okay, there's this kind of judgment, but we have taken a decision that we are totally against issues corruption. We just want to have a country that is run properly, because you don't want to have certain individuals who may have a particular influence to pull the strings because they are doing it privately. So that's why I'm saying this judgment, for me, on the face of it, also presents another opportunity perhaps to have a broader discussion about the issues around these matters. But insofar as political party funding matter, I think that one has been dealt with. I think on the 1st of April it came into effect.
So there are issues around high-profile cases that we've seen in the Constitutional Court this week involving a president and a former president as well. And the issue of people alleging or casting aspersions on the judiciary and the role of the judiciary when it comes to politics. It's quite a contested space in some areas. Just explain to us what's happening there.
Well, Nzinga, we are in a very interesting phase as a country politically. It's very rare that you would have the highest court in the land ruling on the former president. A day later, it rules on the current president. So that clearly shows that the issues political in the country are quite deeply entrenched. So necessarily, you would have people who would have different views. In fact, if you look at what happened in the judgment that was passed 2 days ago, which sent former President Zuma to jail, and the dissenting judgment, I think the minority judgment, and look at how people frame their arguments, and you come to today, those people who perhaps had ruled in a minority judgment then, but today they're ruling differently, and you also follow the kind of discussions. So that clearly tells you, Nzinga, that currently South Africa, particularly the governing party, because we may talk about South Africa because it is the governing party that is in charge of South Africa, but the issues really are within the ruling party, which is deeply divided. So it would seem no one is willing to listen to the other. So if these ones rule in this way and then we don't like it, so it doesn't matter the merit, we simply will have our view aired as well. So I think this is a time for reflection for the ruling party to go back to the drawing board and say, as a ruling party, are we doing justice to people of South Africa as we've been given this privilege to govern them?
Mzwandile Mbeche, SABC News political editor, thanks so much for your time and analysis on this issue. Let's get some more analysis on this with Jacob Zuma, who's an advocate with the Biki Group. He joins me now. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon. So what did that judgment say in a nutshell?
Good afternoon to you and you. In a nutshell, what the Concourt and Justice Jafta's judgment was saying today was they were looking at the appeal brought by the public protector regarding her report into the CR17 campaign funding. Now, what the judgment said in a nutshell was that the public protector was ultra vires. She went beyond her powers and scope regarding her powers in the Constitution, and specifically with regards to the Executive Ethics Code, I believe 2.3a it was. Mm-hmm. Now, the court was saying that it provides, the public protector does not have powers to institute her own investigations in the private sense. In this case, the alleged money laundering by the president and his son, as it were, which the court found that actually they did not know anything about that.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us more about the issues as outlined by Justice Jafta when he was handing down that judgment.
Now, once again, the court was concerned with the jurisdiction of the public protector in investigating issues falling outside the complaints laid by the DA, former DA leader Mmusi Maimane at the time, and also the EFF chief. Now, the issues summed up by the two letters to the public protector was such that the public protector ought to look into the family relationship between the Ramaphosa family and Bosasa. Number two, the money laundering alleged by I believe it's the former DA leader. And did the president lie to Parliament in his address to Mmusi Maimane's question in Parliament? Now, the court found that actually he did not lie willfully. There was no money laundering, and technically there's no relationship between the Ramaphosa family and Bosasa.
All right, so the word competency coming up again when it came to the public protector and where she should not have made certain findings or where she went outside the scope of what she was supposed to do.
Indeed. Now, the court found summarily that she basically jumped the gun. The public protector jumped the gun, and we now are all having this conversations around the public protector's competency instead of looking at the substance of her report. The fact is, however, that she made a material error in law by changing the wording of the Ethics Code 2.3, despite her alleged intentions, whatever they were, of bringing transparency to the fore regarding political campaigns.
Mm-hmm. There was a sense from some quarters online that this was going to be a foregone conclusion. There are people who are alleging that the judiciary has been captured and that there is something fundamentally wrong in South Africa's legal system when it comes to the intersection of politics and law. Give us your analysis on that.
My comment on that would be, look, the past 2 days, the Concourt has shown us that there is no capture of the judiciary. The Concourt has given scathing judgments over the past 2-3 days regarding the Zuma judgment and now today. They have put their foot down and showed that they are not captured in any way. One can say that in the Zuma judgment, they, in all aspects, went against the ANC, as it were, and today now they've ruled in their favor. Now, that only goes to show that the justices of the court are not captured in any way, and the rule of law persists in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Jacob Zuma, an advocate with the Biki Group, thank you so much for your time and analysis on SABC News this afternoon.